Officer Daniel Reyes was a pillar in the community, a dedicated cop known for his unwavering commitment and warm smile. That cool autumn morning, however, everything began to unravel. Daniel had not reported for his early shift, and by mid-morning, a cold unease swept through the precinct. His partner, Officer Michael Cruz, arrived to find the station abuzz with worried whispers and the subtle hum of tension. Daniel's disappearance was more than a scheduling error. It was a mystery that would soon engulf the entire department and community. Michael, still reeling from the shock, retraced every step he had shared with Daniel over the past years. Their bond was built on trust, shared hardships, and the kind of unspoken understanding that only partners in uniform could possess. But today, that bond was laced with dread. Michael's mind replayed the moments from the previous evening. A quiet debrief over lukewarm coffee, a nod to unfinished business, and the hint of something Daniel had left unspoken. There was a look in Daniel's eyes, a shadow of secrets too heavy to carry alone. At the precinct, while colleagues scrambled to piece together any clues, Michael was drawn to Daniel's personal locker. In it lay a small, leather-bound notebook that had gone unnoticed in the rush of the day. The notebook's cover was unremarkable, worn by time, but its presence was profound. A silent invitation to uncover the hidden truths Daniel had guarded so fiercely. Michael's trembling hands opened the notebook, and as he turned the yellowed pages, each word imprinted a tale of inner conflicts, doubts about the system he had sworn to protect, and the whispers of a past he had long buried. The notebook was not a typical journal of police musings. It was a mosaic of fragmented memories, encrypted messages, and half-finished thoughts about cases that never reached closure. Daniel had meticulously chronicled moments when the line between right and wrong blurred, a momentary lapse that cost him dearly, both professionally and personally. In one entry, he described a case of a young man, entangled in a web of family betrayals and desperate choices, whose story ended in tragedy. In another, he recounted a quiet confession by a criminal who seemed more a victim of circumstance than a hardened felon. Through each page, Daniel's reflective, almost poetic style emerged, a call to acknowledge the humanity behind every law violation. As Michael absorbed these words, the weight of responsibility and guilt pressed down on him. Had Daniel stumbled upon something monumental, a conspiracy hidden deep within the institution he served? The entries hinted at corruption, at silent collusions between those meant to uphold justice. Michael's heart pounded as he considered the possibility that his friend had uncovered a truth too dangerous to share openly. Yet, there was also the unmistakable tone of personal regret, a man tormented by choices made in the shadows of his duty. Outside the precinct, the city pulsed with its daily rhythms, unaware of the storm brewing within its protectors. Michael left the building with the notebook clutched close, every step echoing in the silent promise to find his missing partner and to honor the moral questions Daniel had raised. The notebook was both a map and a mirror. It charted a dangerous course through the murky waters of justice and betrayal, and it forced Michael to confront his own vulnerabilities. Was he ready to bear the burden of these revelations? Could he navigate the perilous intersection of loyalty and truth, even if it meant exposing parts of the system he had long trusted? Haunted by the stark lines of the notebook, Michael recalled Daniel's final conversation, a brief moment of hesitation that hinted at his inner turmoil. Daniel had spoken softly about the importance of being vigilant, of not allowing the seductive lure of power to distort one's sense of duty. That day, Michael realized, was more than a simple oversight. It was the prelude to a deeper narrative of ethical decay and redemption. The notebook, with its somber reflections and cryptic passages, was a call to arms, a reminder that even those tasked with preserving order must sometimes question the very structures they defend. The search for Daniel became Michael's singular focus. Every clue gleaned from the notebook was a thread in the larger tapestry of an unfolding investigation. The entries mentioned a series of meetings in abandoned warehouses, whispered conversations at midnight, and a clandestine figure known only by a cryptic alias. Michael's resolve hardened. He knew that uncovering the truth behind Daniel's disappearance would require him to confront not only external adversaries, but also the internal demons of a system riddled with moral ambiguities. In a quiet moment before dusk, Michael sat on the steps outside the precinct, the notebook open on his lap. The soft rustling of pages in the cool evening air was a stark counterpoint to the turbulence in his mind. He traced a finger over a passage that spoke of trust betrayed and justice obscured, and he felt the heavy burden of his own past mistakes. In that reflective silence, Michael vowed to continue the search, to honor Daniel's memory, and to ensure that the hidden truths documented in those fragile pages would not be silenced by fear or indifference. Thus, as darkness slowly enveloped the city, Michael Cruz embarked on a perilous journey, one that would lead him through the labyrinth of forgotten promises and the unyielding weight of moral responsibility. The notebook was his only guide in a world where every shadow concealed secrets, and every quiet street might hide the echoes of lost voices. The first chapter of this unraveling mystery had been written in silence, and now it was up to him to script the next pages of a story that demanded courage, introspection, and an unwavering commitment to truth. Shadows of the past. Michael's determination surged as he left the familiar confines of the precinct behind. The early light of dawn painted long, uncertain shadows on the pavement as he drove toward the abandoned warehouse district hinted at in Daniel's notebook. Each mile peeled away the reassuring normalcy of his former life, replacing it with an unsettling mixture of dread and resolve. Michael's mind churned with questions. What dark truths had Daniel uncovered? And who was the elusive figure mentioned only in cryptic notes? Arriving at the outskirts of the city, Michael parked his car in a deserted lot near rows of crumbling warehouses. The silence here was a stark contrast to the constant buzz of downtown streets. With the leather-bound journal tucked securely under his arm, he stepped into an environment where every rusted door and broken window seemed to whisper secrets of a forgotten past. The air was heavy with dust and memories, and each step echoed as if punctuating the beginning of a perilous investigation. Michael recalled one particular entry in the notebook, a reference to a meeting in the belly of the city, where echoes of lost voices still linger. The description, poetic yet ominous, had led him to this desolate quarter. As he moved cautiously between the dilapidated structures, he noticed subtle signs of recent activity: a discarded coffee cup, faint tire tracks, and a half-burned candle. Each small clue was a thread that, if pulled, could unravel a tapestry of secrets. Inside one of the larger warehouses, the air was cooler and laced with the scent of mildew. Faint traces of footsteps in the dust led Michael deeper into the darkness. He could almost hear Daniel's voice urging him onward, a silent reminder of the trust and unspoken bond they shared. In a shadowy corner, Michael discovered a makeshift table with scattered papers, maps, and photographs tacked to its surface. These items, covered in cryptic annotations, bore the unmistakable mark of Daniel's careful penmanship. The photographs were particularly disturbing. They depicted scenes of urban decay, abandoned lots, and faces half hidden in the gloom. One image showed a man in a dark coat, his eyes obscured by a brimmed hat, standing in front of a graffiti-laden wall. Michael's pulse quickened. This could be the mysterious figure referenced in the notebook. Had Daniel been tracking a person of interest, or was this shadowy man somehow connected to a broader conspiracy? Michael meticulously gathered the loose papers and made mental notes of the symbols and dates scrawled on the margins. Every detail, no matter how insignificant it seemed, might be a vital piece in the puzzle. The investigation took on a surreal quality as Michael sifted through the remnants of what appeared to be a clandestine meeting. The scattered documents hinted at a network of individuals operating in the margins of society. People with their own codes, loyalties, and hidden agendas. Daniel's reflections on justice and betrayal resonated in every word, urging Michael to question the integrity of the system they both had once trusted implicitly. With each new revelation, the moral complexities of his profession came into sharp focus. Was the corruption something deeply embedded, or was it a series of unfortunate coincidences that had conspired against them? Time slipped by unnoticed as Michael pieced together the fragmented evidence. The warehouse, silent witness to both past and present transgressions, offered him fleeting insights into the underbelly of a city that had long forgotten its own innocence. Michael's thoughts turned to Daniel's quiet admonition about the dangers of complacency. His partner had warned him that sometimes the pursuit of truth demanded stepping into the abyss, risking everything for a chance at redemption. Now, Michael felt the heavy weight of that responsibility, knowing that every step he took could lead him closer to a truth that might shatter his understanding of justice forever. As the morning faded into a reluctant afternoon, Michael collected the documents and photographed the scene, preserving every detail with a meticulousness born of desperation and hope. With the evidence safely stored in his bag, he retraced his steps out of the warehouse, each echoing footfall a reminder of the peril that lay ahead. The drive back was a silent contemplation, a journey marked by the turmoil of rediscovered memories and the ever-looming specter of betrayal. Back at his modest apartment, Michael spread the collected papers across his worn dining table. In the soft glow of a single lamp, the fragments of evidence transformed into a mosaic of hidden narratives. He pored over the notes, cross-referencing dates, locations, and names with the entries from Daniel's notebook. The process was painstaking, each connection revealing layers of complexity that blurred the lines between right and wrong. Here, in the quiet isolation of his own space, Michael was forced to confront the raw human cost of his vocation. The documents were not just evidence of a possible conspiracy. They were testimonies of lives marred by secrets and the unrelenting quest for truth. Among the scattered evidence, one photograph stood out, a grainy image of a familiar street corner bathed in twilight. It was a place Michael knew well, a neighborhood where he had grown up and once believed in the promise of community and safety. Now, that same street seemed tainted by an invisible stain of corruption and decay. Michael's heart pounded as he considered that the very heart of his past might be entwined with the dark forces Daniel had unwittingly exposed. The lines between ally and adversary blurred, and he questioned whether anyone could be trusted in a system built on fragile ideals and human frailty. In that moment of introspection, Michael vowed to uncover the truth, no matter the personal cost. He knew that the answers lay hidden in the interplay of memories, evidence, and the quiet yet insistent murmur of his own conscience. The path ahead was fraught with danger, and every revelation would test the boundaries of his morality. Yet, driven by loyalty to Daniel and a deep-seated need to restore balance, Michael embraced the uncertainty of his quest. The warehouse investigation had only deepened the mystery, and as twilight approached, he prepared himself for the next phase, a plunge into the dark heart of secrets that had already claimed so much. With the last rays of sunlight fading from the window, Michael gathered his evidence and sat quietly with the weight of his new reality pressing on him. The moral implications of what he had discovered swirled around him like restless spirits. In the interplay of light and shadow across the pages of the notebook, the truth was waiting. A truth that beckoned him to step further into the labyrinth of betrayal, where every decision might redefine his very soul. The final revelation. Michael's mind raced as he traced his fingers over the grainy photograph of the familiar street corner. The place where he had spent his childhood was now a focal point in Daniel's hidden investigation. The weight of realization pressed down on him. This mystery was more personal than he had imagined. His past and present were colliding in ways he wasn't ready for. But there was no turning back now. With Daniel's notebook in one hand and the collected evidence in the other, Michael drove toward the neighborhood bathed in twilight in the photograph. His grip on the steering wheel tightened as he maneuvered through dimly lit streets, the city's heartbeat growing quieter the deeper he ventured. The world outside was draped in the eerie glow of flickering streetlights, casting elongated shadows that seemed to follow him like silent observers. He pulled up to the intersection, stepping out of the car with cautious determination. The air was thick with the scent of rain and asphalt, a familiar yet unsettling combination. As he stood there, the weight of the past settled over him. He remembered playing on these sidewalks, kicking a worn-out soccer ball with neighborhood kids, unaware that the same streets would one day pull him into a web of deception and truth. Something about the alleyway ahead felt off. A low hum of distant traffic mixed with the occasional murmur of voices. But there was something else, a presence. Michael's instincts, sharpened by years of police work, told him he wasn't alone. From the shadows, a figure emerged. A man in a dark overcoat, his hat pulled low, obscuring his features. Michael's heart pounded as recognition set in. This was the same man from Daniel's photographs, the one mentioned in cryptic notes. "You've been looking for answers." The man's voice was smooth, almost calculated. "But answers have consequences." Michael held his ground. "Where is Daniel?" His voice was firm, but inside, his stomach twisted with uncertainty. The man sighed, as if burdened by a truth too heavy to carry. He got too close, started asking the wrong questions. "Just like you." Michael felt his fingers clench into fists. "What happened to him?" The man hesitated, then pulled a small object from his coat. A police badge, tarnished and scratched. Michael recognized it instantly. Daniel's. A chill ran through him. He knew the system was compromised. The man continued. Knew that some of the people he trusted were hiding things. He wanted to expose it. But in this world, truth isn't always enough to save you. Michael's pulse roared in his ears. He'd suspected corruption, but the implications were far worse than he imagined. Who's behind this? The man took a slow step forward, lowering his voice. You already know. It's in the notebook. The names, the meetings, the cover-ups. It's all there. Michael's grip tightened around the leather-bound journal. He had all the pieces of the puzzle, but now he understood the real question. What would he do with them? A sudden noise shattered the tense silence. A car screeched around the corner, its headlights slicing through the darkness. The man in the overcoat tensed, then backed away. This city doesn't belong to heroes, Officer Cruz, he said before disappearing into the night. Michael stood frozen, Daniel's badge burning in his palm. His partner had risked everything to uncover a truth that was now in Michael's hands. He could turn his back on it, bury the notebook, pretend none of this ever happened. Or he could finish what Daniel started, no matter the cost. With steady hands, he opened his phone and dialed a number. Chief, we need to talk, he said. I have something you need to see. As he stood beneath the dim glow of the streetlight, Michael knew his choice would change everything. But some truths weren't meant to stay hidden. And in the end, justice, no matter how difficult, was worth fighting for. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping true crime narratives.